Have you ever felt like you're fighting an invisible battle? Like there's something holding you back, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into a story that'll make your hair stand on end, and it might just change the way you see your own struggles. Jesus, the miracle worker, face to face with a horde of demons. But here's the kicker. These demons aren't putting up a fight. They're begging for pigs of all things. Now I know what you're thinking. Demons? Pigs? What does this have to do with me? Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see why this ancient story is more relevant to your life than you ever imagined. We're about to uncover a truth so powerful, it could revolutionize the way you approach your own challenges. Ready to discover why demons trembled before Jesus and how it relates to you? Stick around. Your perspective on spiritual battles is about to change forever. Picture this, a rugged landscape where steep cliffs meet the shimmering waters of the Sea of Galilee. That's where our story unfolds, in the land of the Gerasenes. It's not just any old place, mind you. This spot's got a reputation that'd make your hair stand on end. Folks around these parts have been living with one foot in the natural world and the other in the supernatural for generations. It's a place where the veil between our world and the spirit realm seems as thin as tissue paper. Now don't go thinking these Gerasenes are some backwater bunch. They're savvy traders and skilled craftsmen, but they've got a, shall we say, unique worldview. They've seen things that'd make your average Joe's head spin. Spirits, demons, unexplained phenomena. It's all part and parcel of daily life here. You might scoff at such notions, but for the Gerasenes, it's as real as the ground beneath their feet. The Gerasenes have developed a whole system of beliefs and practices to deal with these otherworldly forces. They've got rituals to ward off evil spirits, charms to attract good fortune, and a complex hierarchy of supernatural beings that had put most corporate structures to shame. It's not just superstition to them. It's a matter of survival in a world where the unseen can have very visible consequences. You've got to understand, this isn't some quaint local custom. The Gerasenes' beliefs shape everything from how they build their homes to how they conduct business. They're always on guard, always aware that there might be more to any situation than meets the eye. It's exhausting, really, living with that constant awareness of potential spiritual danger. But here's the kicker. Despite all their precautions and rituals, the Gerasenes still feel powerless against the forces they believe surround them. They're caught in a never-ending cycle of fear and appeasement, always wondering if they've done enough to keep the malevolent spirits at bay. It's a tough way to live, always looking over your shoulder, never quite sure if you're safe. Now, into this charged atmosphere comes a man who's about to turn everything upside down. He's not from around these parts, and he doesn't play by the rules the Gerasenes have set up. He's about to demonstrate a level of spiritual authority that'll shake the foundations of their world. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we? Let's talk about the pigs for a moment. In this part of the world, pigs aren't just livestock. They're a symbol of everything the Jewish people consider unclean. The fact that there's a large herd of swine here tells us something important about the Gerasenes. They're not too fussed about following Jewish law, which sets the stage for a clash of cultures that's about to unfold. So there you have it. The stage is set for a supernatural confrontation unlike anything the Gerasenes have ever seen. A man with unparalleled spiritual authority is about to walk into a world steeped in fear and superstition. The locals think they've seen it all, but they ain't seen nothing yet. Buckle up, folks. This is going to be one wild ride. Let's delve into the heart of our story, the man possessed by Legion. When we talk about possession here, we're not discussing a simple case of moodiness or temporary distress. This individual was experiencing a level of torment that's difficult for most of us to comprehend. The name Legion carries significant weight. In the Roman military, a legion comprised approximately 6,000 soldiers. By identifying themselves as Legion, these demons were essentially declaring, "We're not just a single entity, but a vast army of malevolence." This scenario presents a formidable level of negative spiritual authority, one that would challenge even the strongest among us. Imagine, if you will, a man forced to live among the tombs, constantly crying out day and night, inflicting self-harm with stones. It's a scene that might seem too horrific to be real, yet for this individual it was his daily existence. The demons had such a grip on him that he could no longer function in society. Consider the profound isolation, cut off from everyone and everything familiar. The situation was even more dire. This man possessed strength beyond human capacity, but not in any beneficial way. He could break chains as if they were mere threads. The community had exhausted all options to restrain him, to no avail. It's as though he was imprisoned within his own body, helplessly watching as these malevolent forces controlled his actions. And then there's the cacophony to consider. Can you imagine the discord of thousands of demonic voices all competing for dominance within one's mind? It must have been an unbearable symphony of chaos, leaving no room for peace or coherent thought. Yet amidst all this turmoil and anguish, a glimmer of the man's true self remained. How do we know? Because when Jesus appears, that small part of him recognizes the Savior. It's akin to a person lost at sea suddenly spotting a rescue vessel, an instant recognition of hope amidst despair. Let's consider the physical impact of this possession. This individual was likely in a state of severe neglect, malnourished, scarred from self-inflicted wounds, with a wild, unkempt appearance. He had probably lost all sense of time, self, and reality beyond his immediate suffering. It serves as a stark illustration of the devastating effects that spiritual bondage can have on a person. However, this man's condition, as severe as it was, sets the stage for one of the most powerful demonstrations of deliverance in Scripture. As the saying goes, it's often in our darkest moments that the light of hope shines brightest. And indeed, Jesus is about to illuminate this situation in an extraordinary way. When Jesus stepped onto the scene, it was like a heavyweight champion walking into the ring. The demons didn't just notice him, they were absolutely thunderstruck. Here was someone wielding a level of spiritual authority they'd never encountered before, and it threw them into a panic. You've got to appreciate the irony here. These demons, who had been terrorizing this poor man and the entire region, suddenly found themselves quaking in their metaphysical boots. It's a stark reminder that no matter how powerful evil forces might seem, they're no match for true divine authority. Now, let's talk about recognition. The demons didn't just see Jesus, they knew exactly who he was. Jesus, Son of the Most High God, they called him. It's fascinating, isn't it? These fallen spirits, in their rebellion against God, still couldn't deny the truth of who Jesus was. It's like a criminal instantly recognizing a judge walking into the room. But it wasn't just recognition. It was abject fear. The demons begged Jesus not to torture them. Imagine that. These entities, who had been inflicting untold suffering on their victim, were now pleading for mercy. It's a powerful illustration of how the tables can turn when a higher authority steps in. This encounter showcases a fundamental truth about spiritual authority. It's not about volume or theatrics, but about essence and origin. Jesus didn't need to shout or perform elaborate rituals. His mere presence was enough to send the demons into a frenzy of submission. There's also an interesting dynamic at play here. Despite their fear and recognition of Jesus' authority, the demons still tried to negotiate. They asked to be sent into the pigs rather than being cast out entirely. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming power, the forces of darkness don't give up easily. This supernatural confrontation also reveals something about the nature of spiritual battles. It's not a contest of equals, with the outcome hanging in the balance. When divine authority shows up, the result is a foregone conclusion. The only question is how it will play out. Lastly, this encounter serves as a powerful testament to Jesus' identity and mission. In demonstrating such absolute authority over the spiritual realm, he was proving his divine nature and his role as the promised Messiah. It's no wonder the witnesses were left in awe and fear. When the demons begged Jesus to send them into the pigs, it wasn't just a random request. These entities, as malevolent as they were, had a strategy in mind. It's a fascinating glimpse into the machinations of dark forces when confronted with supreme spiritual authority. First, let's consider why they asked for any physical form at all. Being cast out into the abyss, a place of confinement for evil spirits, was clearly their worst fear. By requesting to enter the pigs, they were essentially bargaining for a stay of execution, hoping to remain active in the physical world a bit longer. But why pigs specifically? Well, in Jewish culture, pigs were considered unclean animals. By choosing these creatures, the demons might have been making a statement about their own nature. It's as if they were saying, "Fine, if we can't have this man, give us the next best thing, something equally unclean in your eyes." There's also a possible element of spite in this request. The demons knew that destroying a large herd of pigs would cause significant economic damage to the community. It's like a last-ditch effort to create chaos and turn the people against Jesus. Talk about a spiteful supernatural confrontation. Consider too the potential psychological impact. The demons might have hoped that the spectacular sight of 2,000 pigs rushing to their doom would terrify the onlookers. Fear, after all, is a powerful tool for those seeking to maintain control over others. From a strategic standpoint, the request for the pigs might have been an attempt to buy time. Perhaps the demons hoped that by causing a distraction, they could find a way to escape or even return to the man later. It's a reminder that in matters of deliverance, vigilance is key. There's also an intriguing parallel between the demon's request and the man's previous condition. Just as the man had been driven to self-destruction, the demons would drive the pigs to their death. It's as if they were compelled to recreate their destructive patterns, even in their moment of defeat. Lastly, this request reveals something about the limitations of these dark forces. Despite their power to possess and torment, they couldn't simply choose their next victim. They needed permission, first from the man they'd possessed, and now from Jesus himself. It's a powerful reminder that even the forces of darkness operate within boundaries set by a higher authority. When Jesus granted the demons' request to enter the pigs, he wasn't just being accommodating. There was a method to what might seem at first glance like madness. This decision was a masterful demonstration of spiritual authority that went far beyond a simple act of deliverance. Consider the educational aspect of this decision. By allowing the demons to enter the pigs, Jesus provided a visible, tangible demonstration of the reality and destructiveness of evil spirits. It's one thing to talk about demon possession, but quite another to see its effects played out so dramatically. There's also an element of exposure at play here. By granting the demons' request, Jesus effectively forced them to reveal their true nature. Their immediate destruction of the pigs showed everyone present just how malevolent these entities really were. It was like turning on a light and watching the cockroaches scatter. This decision also served to validate the man's experience. Imagine the relief he must have felt seeing concrete proof of what he'd been battling. For years, people might have doubted his condition or blamed him for his behavior. Now, there was undeniable evidence of the supernatural confrontation he'd been enduring. Jesus' permission also highlighted the value he placed on human life. By allowing the demons to destroy pigs rather than continue tormenting the man, he made it clear that one human soul was worth more than a whole herd of animals. It's a powerful statement about human dignity and worth. There's a lesson about free will in this decision too. Just as the man had initially given the demons permission to enter him, whether knowingly or not, Jesus allowed the demons a choice in how they would leave. It's a reminder that spiritual battles often involve an element of choice and permission. By granting this request, Jesus also set the stage for a wider ministry. The spectacular nature of this event ensured that news would spread far and wide. People who might never have heard of Jesus otherwise would now be talking about his power and authority. Lastly, this decision reveals something about Jesus' confidence in his own authority. He knew that allowing the demons this small concession wouldn't diminish his power or derail his mission. It's a display of supreme assurance in the face of evil, a reminder that true spiritual authority doesn't need to flex its muscles to prove its strength. The dramatic exorcism and subsequent destruction of the pig herd didn't just make for a good story, it sent shockwaves through the entire Gerasene community. We're talking about an event that touched on every aspect of life, from the economic to the social to the spiritual. Let's start with the obvious, the economic hit. 2,000 pigs don't just disappear without consequences. For the owners of that herd, this was a financial catastrophe of biblical proportions. We're not just talking about the loss of the animals themselves, but also the future earnings they represented. It was like watching your 401k get wiped out overnight. But the impact wasn't limited to the pig owners. Think about the ripple effects through the local economy. The people who worked as swineherds suddenly found themselves unemployed. The businesses that supplied feed for the pigs saw a significant portion of their customer base vanish. It was an economic downturn that nobody saw coming. Then there's the social upheaval to consider. In a tight-knit community like this, such a dramatic event would have been the talk of the town for months, maybe even years. People would have been divided over how to interpret what happened. Was it a divine judgment? A random tragedy? The topic of supernatural confrontation was suddenly on everyone's lips. The event also challenged the community's existing power structures. The man who had been feared and ostracized was now healed and in his right mind. How do you reintegrate someone who's been living in the tombs back into society? It raised uncomfortable questions about compassion, forgiveness, and second chances. From a religious perspective, this event was earth-shaking. The demonstration of Jesus' spiritual authority over the demons forced people to reconsider their beliefs. Some would have seen it as a powerful sign, while others might have felt threatened by this new teaching that seemed to upend their traditional understanding. There's also the fear factor to consider. Witnessing such a dramatic display of supernatural power would have been terrifying for many. It's no wonder the townspeople asked Jesus to leave. They were confronted with a level of spiritual authority that was beyond their comfort zone, and their first instinct was to retreat to the familiar. Lastly, we can't overlook the long-term impact on the community's identity. This event would have become part of the town's lore, a story passed down through generations. It might have even attracted curious visitors, turning the Gerasene region into an unlikely pilgrimage site. The economic loss of the pigs might, in time, have been offset by a new identity as the place where Jesus performed this incredible act of deliverance. The transformation of the demon-possessed man is nothing short of astounding. One moment, he's a wild, uncontrollable force of chaos. The next, he's sitting calmly clothed and in his right mind. It's a before and after picture that would put any makeover show to shame. But this change goes far deeper than appearances. We're talking about a complete overhaul of his identity. For years, this man had been defined by his affliction. He was the demon-possessed guy, the one people avoided, the source of fear and gossip. Now, in an instant, that identity was gone. Imagine the psychological whiplash of suddenly being free after years of torment. The man's immediate response to his deliverance speaks volumes. He begs to go with Jesus, to become one of his followers. It's a natural reaction, isn't it? When someone saves your life, you want to stick close to them. But Jesus had other plans for him, plans that would turn this former outcast into a powerful witness. Jesus' instruction to the man is fascinating. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. It's a commission that transforms the man from a recipient of spiritual authority to an agent of it. He's no longer just a cautionary tale. He's now a living testament to divine power and mercy. Consider the challenge this presented. This man was returning to a community that had known him only as a dangerous, demon-possessed wild man. His very presence would have been a walking, talking reminder of the incredible event that had just transpired. Every step he took into town would have been a step into a new identity. But with this new identity came a new purpose. His mission field was his own people, the very ones who had seen him at his worst. Who better to speak about the reality of supernatural confrontation and the power of deliverance than someone who had experienced it firsthand? His life had become a before and after testimony. The scope of his mission is worth noting too. Jesus told him to go to the Decapolis, a region of 10 cities. This wasn't just a local mission, it was a regional one. The man who had once been confined to the tombs was now given a territory to cover with his story. Talk about a change in circumstances. Lastly, let's not overlook the personal growth this mission would have required. To go from complete social isolation to becoming a public speaker is no small leap. It would have demanded courage, vulnerability, and a deep trust in the one who had healed him. In many ways, this new mission was the final step in his healing process, reintegrating him not just into society, but into a life of purpose and meaning. The story of Jesus, the demons, and the pigs isn't just a tale from the past. It's a powerful reminder of the spiritual realities that surround us every day. So what does this mean for you? How can you apply this knowledge to your own life? First, recognize the authority you have in Christ. Just as Jesus commanded the demons, you too have the power to stand against spiritual opposition. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. How will you use this spiritual authority in your daily life? Second, be aware of the spiritual battles happening around you. The demon's desperate plea shows us that there's more going on than meets the eye. How might this awareness change the way you approach your challenges? Third, never underestimate the power of transformation. The demon-possessed man went from living in tombs to becoming a messenger of hope. What areas of your life are ready for a divine makeover? Now, I've got a challenge for you. In the comments below, share one way you plan to apply this teaching in your life. Your insight could be the spark someone else needs to experience their own breakthrough. Speaking of breakthroughs, do you feel a void in your spiritual life despite your efforts? You might wonder how to draw closer to God amid daily demands. The answer is closer than you think. In the comments, you'll find our ebook, 30 Habits to Draw Closer to God. This practical guide is the result of deep research and spiritual experiences compiled to help you strengthen your connection with God in a meaningful and lasting way. Imagine adopting habits that not only transform your routine, but also enrich your spiritual life. Think of the peace and fulfillment of living each day in alignment with divine teachings. This ebook offers a clear and accessible path to renew your faith and find purpose. Join those who are experiencing a fuller and more rewarding life through simple yet powerful habits. The spiritual transformation you seek is within your reach. Check out 30 Habits to Draw Closer to God now in the comments and start your journey toward a deeper connection with God. Remember, a vibrant and true spiritual life is not a distant dream. With this guide, you're one step closer to making it a reality. Begin today to write your new story of faith and devotion. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more inspiring content like this. And hey, why not spread the hope? Share this video with someone who needs a spiritual boost today. Until next time, remember, you have more spiritual authority than you realize. Use it wisely and watch your life transform.